It's 3 in the morning, you get the call from your resident, and the patient that you operated that previous day has had a hemorrhage, and you're dog-tired, and you don't think that taking that blood clot out is even gonna make a difference, and so you go back to sleep. It's hard to accept that. That's a shortcut that has a consequence to a patient's life, and it's easy to try and rationalize it or justify it when you're tired and you're wanting to go back to sleep. But integrity is knowing that the right thing is to get out of bed, to put your scrubs back on, drive to the hospital, operate till sunrise, and put yourself at a disadvantage for the next day because you've been up all night. To achieve integrity, you almost have to put yourself second. And that means leaving the hospital late, missing one of your kids' soccer games, many things that would otherwise bring joy. But when faced with that choice, if you're going to do the right thing, you have to give that up.
There's all types of excuses that you can make. The anatomy was poor, or did I actually do that, or was it like a bone shard, or was it, what? No, it's extreme ownership. All right, this happened. It's my fault until proven otherwise. Let's watch the video. Let's go back and think about every little detail and, is there something I could have done differently to prevent that? And then that's how you improve. If you shirk that responsibility onto something out of your control, well, then you're never gonna get better.
If something bad happens, but you're able to explain what happened, explain what the next steps are, it's a radically different experience than someone feeling like something's being hidden from them. It's a disservice to the patient, and it's really a disservice to our entire job. So I think integrity is incredibly important.
Integrity is one of those things that shines through.
We try to foster an environment where people can come to us, and it's okay to say, I don't know the answer, but I will find out. The goal is not to have someone know everything when they start here. It's to make sure that they're able to do the work, get the job done, and be honest during that process.
One of the things you have to be in this field is honor and honesty, two very different things. You can be honest, but honorable is doing, again, the right thing. But in our field, you're gonna see some things that are probably wrong and maybe bordering illegal, maybe bordering immoral. And are you able to stand up and say something?
I think integrity is the foundation by which all of our teaching happens here, really. When you come in and you're a junior resident, your seniors have to rely on, are you doing the right thing? Have you taken an accurate history? Is what you're telling the truth? And if you don't know something, you need to say something.
There's a great quote by C.S. Lewis. He says, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. And that's it in a nutshell. It's like nobody will see you and what you're doing, and if you still choose to do the right thing, and it's often the hard thing, that's integrity.
Yeah. Dr. Chang always says when people don't make it through training, it's usually because of things they didn't learn in kindergarten. So it's typically about integrity, character, being honest. If you're honest, then people know where your blind spots might be, what you might not have checked, and can have you go check it or help you with that.
Integrity, resilience, and hard work are non-negotiable qualities in every neurosurgeon, surgeon, physician, hopefully human beings.
An honest surgeon can get very far even if they're not great technically.
The integrity is what gets you out of bed. It's what gets you to put on your scrubs again and get the OR going and do what you need to do. And it's one of the hardest things.
integrity is, it's something that should be so simple, but we all have blind spots. You don't know what you don't know. I think that's where working with residents keeps you honest in a way, because you always have to explain what the indications of an operation are. Why are we fusing instead of just decompressing, right? Well, a fusion is going to pay more. Just doing a decompression may not. So there's mixed incentives there. And if you've got a resident to explain yourself to, that kind of keeps you honest. I think that's where having an echo chamber where everybody's incentivized to do bigger operations can be dangerous.
The surgeons who realize maybe a patient doesn't need some giant spine surgery, but maybe they can just start with something smaller, or maybe they don't need surgery at all. And the people who have the integrity to be able to have a difficult conversation with a family when their loved one is really sick, when you could reasonably justify doing some sort of surgery on them, but when you know in your heart of hearts that it's not going to help them, and it just ultimately be more of a strain on the individual, on their family and all of that. And having the humility and the wherewithal to be able to have frank conversations with people and compassionate conversations with people and tell them that you're not going to help them with any sort of additional surgery is really important.
I remember one time I was a junior resident. I was on call here. It was like 2 in the morning. It's one of these gunshot wounds, and back in the day we'd get like 4 a night, because it was in the heyday of all the gang violence in Phoenix. And I remember I talked to the family, and I was really rushing the brain death conversation because I had to get to the ER. And it's the one time in my whole career that the guy tried to take a swing at me, and I had to duck to avoid getting hit because he knew. He knew that I was saying too much too fast, and he wasn't ready for it, didn't want to hear it. And those moments, you never forget them.
I think one way I experience integrity as a resident that I always think about is, treating each patient like it's your mom or dad or family member or neighbor. And just keeping that in mind when you think about, should I, take a shortcut, do this step? You always have that voice to speed up, but I think framing it around kind of a family member or loved one on the table, at least for me, has always helped me think about doing my absolute best that I can do for each patient. That's something we're challenged with constantly.
People, your patients, their families, place an incredible amount of trust in you I hear this many times, that I feel like we're in the best of hands. And that's not something to be taken lightly. And I think it's a lot easier to be honest with yourself when you know the consequences of what could happen if you aren't prepared for the situation you're about to encounter.
I think the people that we take care of really expect a lot from us, not just to take care of them and make them better, but they expect us to be transparent about anything that might happen, and certainly in the relationship between trainee and the faculty that you work with, being able to be trusted is just incredibly important.
Yeah, the quickest way to get fired in this program is to lie.
Everything crumbles in that moment. And you lose trust. And that's the most important thing, is whenever you say something, can they trust your word? If you lose that, that's tough to recover.
Those are those moments where you have to know that if you do the wrong thing, that it'll haunt you forever.
I took a Hippocratic oath to not just do no harm, but also to help anyone and everyone in situation of despair if there was something I could do to help to the best of my ability.
That's what integrity means, is finding it inside yourself to do something that's uncomfortable because you know it's best for that life of that patient. It's making the decision to do the right thing, to take the long road instead of the shortcut, and doing what's best with your own self-interest aside.